Box concepts, operation instructions. Make the most out of the box concepts. Please follow the instructions in order they are written. Remember, this is a 25-minute set. There will be no stop, no recording and starting again. We are playing live tonight. If you make a mistake, keep calm, carry on. Make sure you have everything ready for your set before you begin. Be careful with the camera tripod trying to climb into the box stage, clean your hand to the sound device provided. Set up your equipment, plug in, tune your instrument, tune provided. Please do not touch any of the amplifier settings. Please do not touch or move the microphone. Please do not touch or move the lights. Run through some. If you're happy, text me, ready. Make yourself comfortable and ready to record. On your right, see the Tascam digital recorder. Press and hold the on button when you're right inside the screen. Should light up. Press the record button on the far left hand side. It will flash on and off and down by moment. Press it again, it will stay lit. It is recording. Order the count. 1, 2, 3, 1 clap once facing the camera. Depress the grey foot pedal on the floor to turn out the stage lights. When you're ready to perform, press the same grey foot pedal to turn on the stage lights. Now play the gig. When you're finished, press the grey foot to turn off the stage lights. Turn off the Tascam recorder and press the stop button on the right hand side. The light will go on. Text me, finish. Congratulations, you have recorded your first box.
1, 2, 3.
One, two, three.
I'm Evan Butterfly. During the lockdown, I did a session in a hand-built stage, studio, performance space, and it was very cool, very technical, and it had like a button you press with your foot to turn the lights on and off, and all these little shelves, and it looked really cool. It looked really cool. So I'm a songwriter who takes the writing part of it very seriously and it's very much a craft for me, and I find writing songs to be agonizing, I suppose you could say, and I find recording songs to be even worse than that. So why do I do it? It's to play songs to people and to finish a song and be able to perform them. And in February of 2020, I did a really lovely gig at the Black Dove, and it was packed down there, and I played some songs, and it was everything that I do this for. And then, of course, the COVID lockdown restrictions came into place, but with no live performances on the horizon, I was left with writing and recording music, which are two of my least favourite things to do. And particularly with no gigs in sight, then I stopped finishing songs as well. And what happens with me is I get so obsessed lyrically with a song, and I get obsessed with the lyrics, but with nothing to push that for me. I ended up just writing lots and lots of lyrics and not finishing or condensing or editing them, and it was just very aimless. It became sort of damaging for me almost to just be writing with obsession rather than with focus and craft and heart and everything. And then Tim's offer to do a performance in this wonderful hand-built space suddenly gave me a reason to condense and finish these songs and to kind of work them all into a set, which is something that had already, in a matter of months, had just become such an alien, inconceivable thing. So Tim did a really, truly wonderful thing for me here, because he was not only able to give me a space to perform some songs for people to watch without breaking any lockdown restrictions, but he also allowed me to finish some songs, and I genuinely believe songs that I did after that were influenced by the burst of inspiration and energy I had from that.
One, two, three.
Hello, I'm Ardaya, doing a box concert. When Tim asked me, I was a bit worried because normally my suitcase that I take to gigs is about the size of this box. But I thought I'd use the opportunity of doing something intimate just to play a few songs on this, my new harp, which I got over lockdown, and which has actually been a bit of a friend, I guess, for me, because I live on my own with a cat, and I always feel bad saying alone, because like the cat would know and judge me. Anyway, having this and being able to play something that vibrates so much and that you hold, and like I've been putting my ear to it and feeling the vibrations, has been such a lovely thing. Also, it does feel like a bit of a risk because I'm not great at it, but why not? What is life without risk? So yeah. What's really great actually, when I was testing the sound with Tim, we realised that this note here, which is an A, is actually resonating through the stool, through the harp, through the stool, and around the box. So if you hear this kind of extra loud, low note there, that is the box becoming an instrument, and that's very exciting. You can hear it, can't you? Look, so check that out. That's the box. And then I move it. No box. That's science. I like the idea that my shows are always educational. Excellent. It'd be great when we get to share these vibrations together. Ooh,
One, two, three.
Hi, I'm Antonia Redding. I'm a singer-songwriter and a musician. I lived in Brighton for many years, and whilst in Brighton, performed regularly on the open mic circuit. Brighton has abundant opportunities for an artist to try out their material. There's lots of open mics, supportive pubs, and this is what I did for many years. And then lockdown came, and that came to a swift end. This was difficult for me in lots of ways, Firstly, I'm PRS registered, and performing out in Brighton meant that I got some royalties, so that was my bread and butter. But more than that, singing and performing is good for my well-being, and makes me feel connected to life generally, but also connected to my community of fellow artists. Being able to be at an open mic and be inspired by and listen to other singer-songwriters and share their experiences made me feel like I was part of something greater than myself. And when lockdown came, this took that away. I found during lockdown that I didn't really have the impetus to even write new material, let alone play or practice my songs, because I had no platform to take them to and perform. And I realized that this affected me adversely, because I couldn't find anything to write about, and there didn't seem to be any reason to write. Then I had an opportunity to perform at a box concert during lockdown. I mean, this changed everything. For one thing, it gave me the motivation to play every day, to practice for the gig. And I remembered that playing music and singing makes me feel great, really changes my mood, lifts my spirits, and allows me to tap into a creative part of myself that I wouldn't normally get. So performing at the tiny box during lockdown was a treasure, an opportunity to feel once more connected to my community, and almost to feel in some way at home, because I feel at home when I am doing this work.
One, two, three.
Hi, my name's Mike Ross. I'm on this tiny little stage. Thanks, Tim, for inviting me on. One of the things that's been hardest for myself, and I know for a lot of other musicians like me who are used to making a living from playing music and keeping on the road and stuff, is how to keep the kind of passion and the enthusiasm up for it when most of the gigs that we've been doing, they're not in tiny boxes, but they've been in small spaces with little or no audience for the past 12 months or so. And there's no easy answer. There's something that you find in a lot of creatives, artists and musicians and everybody in the creative industry. There's a requirement for engagement, there's a requirement for participation. And there's art with no engagement is hard to keep it up, So this is great, The gigs are coming back, and when they're coming back, hopefully I'll see some of you guys out, some of my shows, and God willing, and with a strong wind behind us, we'll all be back to shows by the autumn.
One, two, three.
So my name is Leon Carter, and I was lucky enough to play a box concert, which was really cool, and I really enjoyed it. It was a funny old time not being able to play to people. I did like a little online gig, and that was really nice actually, but a little bit weird. Kind of weird not playing live, because it really gives me a buzz and a lift, and that buzz and the lift kind of sticks around for quite a while. Yes, I did miss that. I did quite a lot of recording in lockdown, and that kind of really helped. But it was really cool to do a box concert. When I got inside the box, and then it all went dark, and then I forgot that I was by myself, and it felt like there was people there watching almost, and it felt like a performance. Before I've like set up a video and recorded myself just playing, and it's kind of hard to get relaxed, and I've always been quite critical of how like it's kind of like turned out, but I'm really pleased with how it come across on there, and it was really nice being in the box because like the natural acoustics of the box kind of just amplified the voice and the guitar just in itself. It was a really nice sound. It kind of felt like you was inside a speaker almost, like inside a speaker cabinet. It was really cool. I love the box concert. I think they're great, and there's a nice variation of people on there as well. So yeah, that's my experience of the box concert.
One, two, three.
Susie John, Box Concert 2021. Well, when I first heard that Tim had created Box Concert, like an online platform during lockdown, I was absolutely thrilled because I had been writing for a couple of years at that point and had just decided, New Year of 2021, that I might have to build my own studio in my cupboard. So when my friend Naomi said that Tim had already started on his project and I could book a slot, it was like a dream come true. So obviously I spent a few months editing and preparing my set, and when I arrived, I did go and have a little look beforehand, so I knew where I would be delivering the work, and had a little sit down on the seat and felt the box around me. But the actual act of doing the show was just like being on the stage. Even though there was no one else there, I definitely was reaching out to my audience. So it was an amazing experience, and I was really grateful. And another milestone on the way to being brave about being an artist and answering the question, can art save the world?
One, two, three.
Hello, my name's Charles Villiers. I'm a musician. I play guitar and I write songs. Tim offered me the opportunity to do a box concert, and I took him up. I was very nervous, but I knew it would be a start. And it was in fact the perfect start because it was so intimate and, you know, it was just the right challenge for me. So I'm very grateful. And since then, I really have, you know, built on that. And I do trace it back to that. That was one of the pivotal moments of my musical life.
1, 2, 3.
My name's Nicola Suzanne, and I'm a storyteller. When lockdown first hit, I never thought it would go on for very long. But as the days stretched into weeks, stretched into months, as the lockdowns recurred again and again, and the restrictions on social interaction became more and more draconian, and people became more frightened and more confused and more alienated, it felt like I'd been struck dumb and become invisible. There was nowhere to share the stories that I'd been given, the ones that I loved, the ones that might amuse people or inspire people or entertain them or comfort them. Because when times get really difficult, I think you need stories more than ever. So when Tim offered me the chance to do some storytelling on his wonderful box concerts, it was like an absolutely magical opportunity, magical in the sense of the old magician's Victorian cabinets, magical. It's a tiny little environment, but it blazes with lights and stars and colour. I realised, just doing half an hour in that little magic box, just what it was I loved about storytelling. I reconnected with its power, which I seem to have lost for such a long time, and the idea of continuing to tell stories and write stories suddenly became not just a possible idea, but an actuality. Not to be able to share the things that you would like to at least offer to other people, whether they are songs, whether they are music, whether they're stories, whether they're paintings or writing, is like, yes, it's like being silenced, it's like being invisible, and it's having your hands tied behind your back. So to have an outlet was not only a lifesaver, it was also a completely life enhancer. It was like having a massive injection of, yes, you can still do this. This is fun. This is worth it. Energy. Suddenly you weren't invisible anymore. You weren't struck down anymore. And there was a way to communicate with all those people out there, maybe one or two of whom might like to listen.
One, two, three.
Hello, my name is Nick Bell, aka Silver Bullet. Just before COVID, I'd been living in Ukraine mostly, but I'd also had a lot of connections with Moscow, and at that time the situation was sort of tense, but it wasn't, too bad, and I'd hoped that things would get better, not worse. So I'd actually decided to go and live, although my girlfriend was Ukrainian, lived in Kiev, I decided to spend a year. We kind of agreed I'd go and spend a year in Moscow, because it was something I'd always wanted to do. So I went over just before, about 6 weeks before COVID kicked in, and I was performing a lot there. I was very busy there, and I had a big six-piece blues band who played actually really near the Kremlin in this underground blues bar, and I used to play Wednesday nights, playing my own songs in blues and jazz, and it was great. It was absolutely right. It was quite a dream, really. I had a little apartment, but I paid for a little apartment in Moscow, so I had a very good situation, really. And then suddenly all hell hit the fan, really. My dad he'd had Alzheimer's for a while, but his Alzheimer's suddenly just, really it took off exactly the same time as COVID. Mum collapsed. I got a phone call from my brother while all the COVID news was going on, and I was in Moscow at the time. So I arrived in London with my computer, and that was about it, some clothes. I never made it back to Moscow, I never have. And yeah, all the things I loved, really, travel, music, and fetish were all completely shut down. So eventually, after the first year, I managed to get back to Kiev occasionally, so I didn't need a visa for that. So the second year of COVID, I sort of bounced between Kiev and London. And in that time, I came up with this idea to write a Kinky album and come up with this sort of Silver Bullet idea. Yeah, actually, I don't know exactly if it was in the first year or the second year, but during the COVID time anyway, at some point, I combined sort of performing jazz and blues stuff, songwriting basically, and sort of comedy and the fetish into this strange character called the Silver Bullet. So during lockdown, when I was in Kiev, actually, funny enough, Kiev was quite open, so I did do a few gigs there and went to a few parties and performed a bit. But then I would come back to England, it was absolutely, you couldn't meet someone for a cup of tea. So it was quite a strange dual existence I had for a while. But the box concert was great because that was really, I don't know, it was just very therapeutic, I suppose, very cathartic. It really helped me sort of feel part of an old me that had got kind of washed aside. So actually it was a wonderful moment that it felt really like catching up with my past in some ways and my friends in Brighton and kind of just creating something just purely for fun. And I suppose it was like a little tiny church or something, that experience, like a sort of prayer in a way to art and to a happy, a sort of simpler world. And I'm off to meet this opera singer tonight to see the back of plugs.
One, two, three.
Hi, this is The Family Grave, singer-songwriter from Brighton. What was lockdown like for me as a musician? In some ways it was a really creative period. Saved some money, got some time back actually, and that allowed me to create lots and lots of new music, write lots of songs, which was really good. We didn't play live, of course, so the box concerts were a superb idea. Not just the opportunity just to sit and play some songs, but just the whole concept really of playing to no audience just captured the zeitgeist of the lockdown brilliantly. It's also a really cute space. As a player, I found the experience really strange, to be honest, and disorientating. I'm not sure I liked what came out of my box concert. I kind of felt that I needed to do it again and again, just to kind of feel comfortable in the space. But that was me. That was more about me than the box. What was life like after lockdown? Quite challenging, quite competitive. It seemed like literally everybody who made music had been writing songs and producing new music during lockdown, and it all seemed to come out as society came out of the pandemic. Being able to play live again was great, but again it was really competitive. There seemed to be a lot of people in the same mood, just wanting to get out there and play more. It's hard to find gigs, actually. It was hard during lockdown, it's hard after lockdown. There seemed to be fewer venues, fewer punters actually wanted to come out and listen to music. People are still nervous, I think, to go out, or maybe they got used to not going out so much. So it's tough, but on the other hand, I do feel slightly invigorated actually and more creative. That time, that energy that's gone into more songwriting has been actually quite a good period for me as an artist.
One, two, three.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Oliver. I'm a professional musician, and I was the one that was measured for the box. I think the lack of playing happened, it was literally overnight. And we went from everything was normal to having nothing, like no work, no income, just like that. And I think maybe as it was thought, it might be for a couple of weeks, and you think, okay, we can deal with that. And it just went on and on and on. And we were utterly not. Nobody paid any attention to the people that needed to be in public. It was very strange. And I think if part of your sense of self-worth or who you are or your purpose in life or anything is a performance, you were screwed. It's like a tunnel without an end. And it just seemed to get worse instead of better. If it had gone on longer, there would have been a lot more serious mental health things that non-creatives cannot understand. It is a part of who you are, and if a part of who you are is cut off by whatever it's cut off by, you are less healthy and less of who you are, which can only be a detriment. No. The whole solo box thing, I'm used to doing it in bands. I will do a duo or I will do a 12-piece, and it doesn't matter, and that for me is easy. Doing it on my own is slightly terrifying. And so it felt almost like right at the beginning doing those first gigs of, oh my God, I'm on my own. And I did get proper gig nerves. There was that strange thing of the bit that I have trouble with is the talking in between songs. So I went in there thinking, this is going to be so awkward, I'm going to hate this, I'm not going to say anything, and ended up waffling loads of nonsense. But it felt way more like an actual gig than I thought it would do. The element of bad feedback in a gig was taken away. So that's always quite nice, is that you can just assume that, hey, this is going all right. It was nice to feel a part of something, even though we were doing it on our own. We were part of this collective trying to bring creativity back. No, not really bring it back, but to try and keep it alive with the awareness of how important it is. And I think just knowing that the box was there meant that if I'd have gone up and said, hey, can I do one now? You know, can I do a gig now? The answer would have been yes. And that hadn't been, in every other space, that wasn't available, that had been taken away.